And they're all your latest headlines here on BBC World News.
Now on BBC World News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
Hey, leaving the baggage behind. Yet tourism commits to cutting its emissions at the Glasgow Climate Change Summit as the industry tries to recover from the pandemic. And jabs for jobs. US employees with 100 staff or more face big fines if they don't make sure their workers are vaccinated or tested for coronavirus. Hey, hello everybody, I'm Heslehurst. Welcome to the World Business Report. Give me about 10 minutes and I'll try to give you a fascinating snapshot of all the latest in the world of business and money. Let's get cracking, because travel and tourism, hugely important to the global economy. It was worth about 10% or some $9.4 trillion. That, of course, was before the pandemic hit. But travel restrictions meant that was then cut in half, with some 62 million jobs lost so far. So how does the industry become more sustainable as it recovers? Well, after all, it does contribute about 5% of global carbon emissions. So with the UN Climate Summit continuing up north in Glasgow, the UN's World Travel Organization is launching what it calls the Glasgow Declaration. More than 300 signatories, including airlines, hotel groups, travel agents. They've all committed to halving their carbon emissions by 2030. So on that note, let's jump straight over to a familiar face and friend. Zurab Pololikashvili is the Secretary General of the UN World Travel Organization and joins us. Zurab, always a pleasure seeing you, my friend. So listen, how is the declaration going to work, and how do you enforce it?
Great. Great. Very happy to be back, Aaron. We had a historical day today. This is first time when tourism is in a top priority of COP agenda. We are very timely. Why? Because after pandemic, I think it's the best moment, and was best moment it is, to unite all forces and all the private and public sector. Today we signed the Glasgow Declaration, which is big beginning and big start of decarbonizing the world via tourism. So we had more than 300 signatories today. Again, as I mentioned, it is just the initial start. We are going to implement and to attract more and more private companies, all our member states. We have committed already, and this afternoon we signed another very important document with Panama, government of Panama. And as you know, Panama with Bhutan is absolutely zero net carbon neutral country. So nice showcase to other member states, and we're just starting.
Zurab, let me ask you this though, because I was just recently this week at the World Travel Market here in London, the first big global gathering of the industry since the pandemic. Spoke to a lot of tourism ministers from all corners of the world, and this is what I put to them. There is a conflict with global travel and tourism. Very important industry, but to become more you want to become more sustainable. At the same time, you still want thousands, if not millions of people traveling around the world, emitting emissions to go and spend their dollars, if you will, in those countries. It's a very hard balance, or a very difficult balance.
I absolutely agree. I mean, and we saw all in world travel market, tourism is going to recover, and it's already under recovering process. We had excellent ministerial meeting after 2 years at WTM talking about green investments. It's a time to invest, but at the same time it's a time to develop and to support sustainability. Again, we are starting more or less from the scratch. The numbers are there. We had a decrease of 75% last year, which is historical crisis in the tourism industry, and this is the opportunity. And when there is a crisis, there is always opportunity to invest and to learn and to develop sustainably.
And Zurab, sorry to interrupt. Talking about investing, I've got to quickly, very briefly, developing economies who rely heavily on tourism, some of them, how are they going to afford to become more sustainable in this industry? I mean, do richer countries, do they have to help them, do you think, and cough up money for the developing economies?
Yeah, in that case, I think it's important to invest in infrastructure because many countries, less developed countries, they have a problem for infrastructure, security, and this is the space where governments and government has to invest and to support at the same time the private sector. If there is no infrastructure, there will be very difficult to develop. And of course, from our side, from UNWTO, we are committed to attract innovation and attract education. Education is the future of the tourism, and we are very focused and very keen. Same time, we have a new approach, and we want to support rural development, new areas, new destinations, rural part of the countries, and I think this is again very timely. Talking about COP and climate change challenges and our declaration, I think that our main 4 pillars will be to measure, to decarbonize, to regenerate and unlock the innovative financing. These will be 4 main topics where we will be focused.
Okay, Zurab Polakashvili, of course, the Secretary General of the UN World Tourism Organization. Always appreciate your time. I wish I had more, but I don't. I'll see you soon. Thanks very much, Zurab.
Thank you.
Okay, hey, let's turn our attention to the US now, because more than 80 million Americans, workers in America, that is, will have to get COVID vaccines or be tested weekly. This is according to new rules just released by the US government. They apply to any company employing 100 people or more. Republicans, they oppose the plan, which the Biden administration says it will help the US economy. Let's jump straight over to New York. Our very own Michelle Fleury is in the New York studio. Michelle, lovely to see you. Happy, I think it's Thursday. Yeah, happy Thursday. Hey, how is this going to work? Because I can only imagine, Michelle, there will be several US states who are going to really push back on this, no?
Look, I mean, the point here is that the period of carrot, where you saw the government offering incentives to try and get people to go get vaccinated, is over. And now we're at the stick phase. So the Biden administration is saying, look, you have until January 4th, that's an extension of the deadline, to give people time so that it doesn't coincide with the holidays, because there was some fear that that could impact the ability of companies to kind of retain staff at a crucial period of time. What happens now is that if these employees don't get vaccinated in time, private companies could face nearly $14,000 in fines for each unvaccinated worker, and that could climb as high as $136,000 for repeat offenders. Now, the point to make here is that not everyone has to be vaccinated. Those who are unvaccinated can submit to being tested on a regular basis. All of this is going to be overseen, Aaron, by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. The idea being, after the election results we saw in the last few days, the Biden administration is more keen than ever to try and get this virus under control.
Okay. Hey, Michelle, while I've got you, just briefly, I mean, those Americans who are in work are typically getting paid more money, and that is adding to that whole inflation picture that you and I are constantly talking about. And that is also, well, I guess I can only imagine, weighed up by the Fed in their decision yesterday.
Yeah, so we've seen that wage unit costs are going up, or put another way, salaries, pay is going up. In fact, we saw news last month also that wage growth in the third quarter was the largest on record. You're seeing this kind of shift in the market dynamics. As you point out, that is posing a challenge to the Federal Reserve, because when you take that together with the potential of higher rents, it suggests that inflation may not be transitory. It may be sort of longer lasting than the Fed would like. Inflation we're already seeing is above 2% target. And it is a huge concern for American consumers right now. They are very concerned about the prices they are paying. Yes, we're seeing these higher wages, but of course they're being eaten into by the higher prices they're paying for things like milk, petrol, everything else. And so it is causing a headache for the US Central Bank that said it's going to trim its monthly bond purchases, but still sticking to its argument that this inflation is transitory, a result of supply disruptions.
Okay. Petrol. You just used the word petrol, Michelle. You're in the US. It's gasoline.
Fuel.
Fuel, that's it. And of course, we are seeing the same price rises over here. I've got to go. I'm being yelled at. See you, Michelle. See you in a couple of hours. Michelle Fleury from New York. Let me just leave you with some of the other stories making headline news around the world. The Bank of England has followed the US central bank in keeping the cost of borrowing unchanged. Economists had been expecting an increase because, as with many other countries in the UK, when we just talked about it with Michelle, we're seeing rising inflation. Of course, all of this as the economy recovers from the pandemic. The Bank of England did signal that it would raise rates in the coming months, and that today's decision was a very close call. Hey, Google will allow third-party payment systems to work in its App Store in South Korea. The change will happen by the end of this year and will allow the tech company to comply with the new law in that country. South Korea is one of several countries that have been working to stop Google and Apple forcing app developers to use their payment systems and taking hefty commissions in the process. Oh, Google signs. Hey, India has cut the taxes on petrol and diesel after the surging cost of crude oil has pushed fuel to, well, over there as well, record highs. The announcement came on the eve of the festival of Diwali, which sees the start of a very busy festive season in India, typically marked by increasing consumer spending. Do we have time? Oh, we do have time. Okay. I think the US markets, they did it again. They opened at record highs. This is after a good session, although the Dow slightly down. There, concerns of those inflation worries still lingering. That's it. Follow me on Twitter. Tweet me, I'll tweet you back. You can get me at BBC Aaron. I've got to go. Bye-bye.